This week I've been checking out a plugin that works on Granular synth technology, which I don't really know that much about. Basically taking your whatever you play, your sound, and resampling it, cutting it up into tiny little chunks, as many as 64, and then reverbing and delaying and pitch shifting that in a kind of randomized, very natural, interesting way. The plugin's called Scatter, and I found it really inspiring for kind of really atmospheric and ambient soundscapes. The top bar of all those dots is a kind of a visualization of all those grains. How many grains are in the audio buffer, or basically the kind of bank of all the samples. And then there's 6 knobs. The one that has to do with pitch shifting, one that has to do with, it says called space, which has to do with reverb. Feedback, which is how many times the delay signal kind of feeds back into itself. Size, how much time passes between the delay taps, like a normal delay effect. Shape, which actually defines if it's kind of a fast attack on the delay taps or a more kind of smooth kind of sine wave. And then a mix knob, which just controls how much of the effect you're hearing versus like the dry. I was experimenting with how all these effects interact with the guitar. Here's what it sounds like when you first turn it on. And then later here, I increased the mix to get a washed out, ethereal kind of vibe. What's interesting is that the reverb and the delay, it has this really shimmering and kind of beautiful quality you don't get with normal reverbs, and that's because of the granular kind of micro sampling it's doing, and the kind of randomization that's happening that makes it. Soundghost, the company that made this plugin, describes it as a granular cloud generator, better than any technical phrase. And here I pitch shifted everything up. You can pitch shift stuff up chromatically or within a scale, and I pitch shifted everything up a minor sixth. And I turned up the delay so you can hear weird, echoey, dissonant cloud, which is kind of like space horror soundtrack. The way I made some of these noises is no strumming. I just brushed my hand over the strings and it was that sensitive. And then I decided to have a little bit more fun. I pitched everything down 2 octaves. I can't really describe what it sounds like. Like an old ship, it's like falling apart, or evil space monster lurking and like moving around inside of like an old spaceship or something. I don't know why I went that way, but that's where it was going. And then I stopped making weird noises. And what's neat is that the pitch shifting is really clean and clear. It was actually really inspiring, and I'm kind of proud of mini sound world I made here. hear, I play the same thing, and you can hear how the granules, the amount of times it's actually sampling you, makes a huge difference. Going from 0 just up to a few, as I go from like, 3 to 7 to, I don't know what I did. All of those samplings, at first they're really clear, but they kind of get smushed into this cloud. It almost felt like I was putting the chord I was playing through a super fast arpeggiator. I don't really experiment with that kind of stuff often. It was neat to hear that just with, my guitar and, a plugin. And then here I turned down the size so you can really hear this like kind of glitchy texture. Then I started pitch shifting up. Here's what a normal chord sounds like. And then here's what it sounds like when it's been pitch shifted up an octave. And each of those delay taps is being re-pitch shifted. Each of those grains is individually controllable to have this like cascading kind of shifting effect. And when you turn the mix all the way up to 100 and you remove the original sound source, which is a guitar, it almost sounds like it's this synth. And that was really neat to hear that they had never been created when I just, played a guitar string. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, like electronic, like chiptune-y video game music. And I thought it had a really beautiful quality. And I actually got so inspired by all this stuff that I actually decided to make a little track showing off all the different things you can do with this plugin. I decided I wasn't gonna make a soundtrack for a space horror movie. I feel like I can do that later.